Hello and welcome to episode 113 of Things I Learned from Barry Harris. And today I thought we would tackle this idea that I've been thinking about a little bit. Just taking one particular degree of the scale. And in this instance I thought we would take D7 scale, or to the 7th. And I thought we would choose the second, which is the E natural. So the idea is this, and you should be able to do this with every possible degree of the scale. But the idea is this. We're on the second of the D7. What can I do from there? What are the things that I know how to do from there? Because this is what happens. As you're chaining together several phrases, you run one thing into the next thing. But inevitably, you're going to end on different notes, like the second of something. So you have to have a whole slew of things you're comfortable with doing from the second. This way you don't just get to the second and then abruptly stop and abruptly start a new phrase. It's kind of nice to have a nice cohesion. So let's think about what we can do from the second. And we'll think about using Barry's ideas. So obviously. So from the second. So if we just did some of, let's say, Barry's half-step rules, starting on the second, first is no half-steps, so we'll play the scale down with no half-steps. So we'll say 1, 2, 3, 4. That's pretty. So that's pretty. We get to the D7. Let's do two half-steps. So we'll say 1, 2, 3, 4. That's from the second. Again, everything starting from the second. Two half-steps, right? Now that's if we started on the beat. But what if we start on the and? So now we're going to start on the and of the second. The second is going to start on the and of one, let's say, which means the rules reverse. So the first rule is going to be one half step. So we'll do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a pretty phrase. Now maybe we'll do, let's start on the second again on the first beat. And we're going to do two half steps again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. But maybe now we'll put a 16-note triplet on the first note. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a nice phrase. So if we said 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a nice phrase. That's two half steps with one triplet. There's other things that you do from the second. Now that's all going down, but also we can go, the second is also the fifth of the A, which is the important arpeggio found on the fifth of D7. So D7, every dominant scale, has three important arpeggios. One found on the root, which is a major, one found on the fifth, which is a minor, and one found on the flat seventh, which is also a major. So we could start on the second and come down that important arpeggio, the A minor arpeggio. We could hit 5, 3, 1, 5. So that's nice too, starting on the first beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a nice one starting from the second. So nice thing to do from the second. How about if we do it from, if we go up, well, we could start going up too, so we'll go up to the next note of the A minor, which would be the A. So we'll say 1, 2, 3, 4. That's nice, but we started on the second. How about if we do, it's also the important arpeggio, like I said before, is from the flat seventh, so that's the third of the C major arpeggio. So now why don't we come down the C major arpeggio? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a nice phrase. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me do it again. Major arpeggio. That's a nice phrase. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Pretty. Just coming down from the second. How about if we did a pivot? 1, 2, 3, 4. Or 4, 1. No, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a nice one. How about if we do a pivot starting from the second, but we'll start on the and of the one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That's a nice one. Now these are all D7 phrases. Every one of these is a D7 phrase. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. Let's see. All those are pretty, every one of them. And that's starting on the second, on either on the beat or on the end of the beat, and all different things we can do from the second. How about if we go up? Let's go up a triad. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a nice one. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a really pretty one. How about if we went up a triad starting on the and? 1, 2, 3, 4, ah. Also nice. I just adjusted my half steps on the way down, but that's pretty. How about if we come up a chord? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's also pretty. Coming up a chord. Really pretty. How about if we come up a chord starting on the and? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That's also pretty. Adding a little triplet on there. How about if we start on the second and go up Barry's chromatic scale? So the chromatic scale, for those of you who don't know, is every place that you have a half step, you put a half step in between. But where you have a scale note and then another scale note right after it, we have to put the next scale note because there's no scale notes in between. So I'll show you what I mean. If we have between E and F sharp, there is a half step. Now in between F sharp and G, there is no half step, so we have to add A. So maybe we'll start from the second and we'll do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pretty phrase. That's a really pretty phrase. So that was just using Barry's chromatic scale, going up a minor third. What if we went up a triad using Barry's chromatic scale? So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. That was nice. Then I came down a chord when I got to the B natural or to the sixth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pretty phrase, right? But I'm still thinking about all of these phrases as starting from the second. So you see, this is the kind of way I think we should practice. So before we practice, like, oh, I have to practice D7 into G major. That's a really important thing. Or D7 into G7. That's a really important thing. Or D7 into D flat major. That's a really important thing because that's a tritone. Or D7 into G minor. Or D7 into, let's say D7 into E major, because that's like the dominant on the 4 minor. But you see, all those things are all important for D7. And now we're breaking it down even further. We're saying, well, what can we do starting from each degree? Now, this whole video is just about starting from the second. But we could have a video, and we could all do one, on starting from every degree. What do we do when we start on the root? How about the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the flat seventh? Every one of the degrees of the scale we could do stuff. Maybe the raised 5 even sometimes, you know. But it's really interesting to break it down and see, and really test yourself and say, wait a minute, when I get to the second, I always end up doing the same 2 things, you know. So this is a good exercise to keep you from just repeating the same phrases all the time. I know I do it myself. Every time I get to the 7th, I do this particular thing. Or anytime I get to the 3rd, I do this particular thing. So this is why I'm sharing this, because I'm trying to get out of that bad habit myself. And I think it's helpful. So those were just a couple of things to think about starting on the second of dominant scale, which is really interesting. I mean, we're really breaking it down to like it's the smallest of components. But I think that's what's wonderful about Barry's way of thinking about things, is that's what you end up doing. It's the little small things that mean the most. It's not the larger things. The larger things are just a compilation of the little smaller things. So that's what I love about his one of the things I love about his philosophy. So until next time, have fun practicing phrases from the second.